The TikTok ban is just around the corner. We're going to be revisiting this conversation because the TikTok ban is going to start in the next 3 to 4 days and TikTok has yet to make a sale. What really means is that you're not going to be able to download TikTok off of app stores. You're not going to be able to reinstall it, should say you delete it. And it's also not going to be updated anymore. So TikTok is just going to be an unsupported application on your device. But before we get into the whole situation on TikTok refugees, as we like to call them, heading on over to Rednote, I think it's very important that we kind of get the terminology of things set in place for this video before we continue on, because I don't want people to get confused because there's a lot. First, we need to talk about ByteDance. So ByteDance is a parent company of TikTok. They're located in Beijing, or at least they're headquartered in Beijing. TikTok is an international version of Douyin. Douyin is exclusive to China. Douyin is basically what we call the OG TikTok, except this platform is exclusive to the Chinese mainland. TikTok is Douyin, but it's international. There are some laws in place in China where it's like one service has to be exclusive to China, whereas the same version or the different version of this service has to be made for international use. I don't know the specifics of that. Apparently, that's a common thing that a lot of businesses do in China. Then we also have Lemonade that's been trending in the social media space for some time. They're also owned by ByteDance. This is more ByteDance's answer to like Pinterest or Instagram. Finally, the biggest highlight of the social medias right now is Rednote. And Rednote is owned by a different company. They have no relation to ByteDance, but Rednote is just like Instagram, Pinterest combined. I've heard from many people that they've been around since like 2013. They've been founded in 2013. And before, they were called Hong Kong's shopping guide. And it was called the shopping guide because it was a place that you can go to when you want to look up beauty, travel, restaurants, hotels. It was a guide for that. But then later on, they started to call themselves the Little Red Book, or in Mandarin, you would call it Xiaohongshu. Rednote is often regarded as a localized adaptation of Instagram in China. Its Chinese name, Xiaohongshu, translates to the Little Red Book in English, a phrase which refers to a collection of sayings by the Chinese communist leader Mao Zedong. It is widely regarded as a go-to search engine these days in China for recommendations, and the most popular topics on the app span beauty, fashion, travel, and food. Its users in China are mostly young and female. After the justices seemed inclined to let the law stand on the ban of TikTok, of course, masses of TikTok users began creating accounts on Xiaohongshu, including hashtags such as TikTok refugee or hashtag TikTok to their posts. Since Monday, Xiaohongshu has become the top downloaded free app on Apple's App Store in the United States. And it's been trending for quite some time. If you already look at number one, the Rednote is already there, cruising at number one, with Lemonade coming close behind at number two. And of course, they're trending because of the TikTok ban that is fast approaching. Now, there are many reasons as to why a lot of TikTokers are moving to different platforms and are heading over specifically to Chinese-owned social media platforms. You're probably thinking to yourself, why are people leaving TikTok only to head on over to a Chinese-owned app? It's out of spite. That's it. It's really just in protest more than anything else. It's just a TikToker's way of, sticking it to the old American man in suit and ties that know what's best for us. That's really all it is. They're just flipping a finger, but I don't know how long they're going to hold this finger up in the air for some time. I don't know. Maybe they're there for a good time, not a long time. But we're going to look more into this because it does get a little bit interesting from here. Chinese users on Xiaohongshu have so far welcomed American users, with some offering to teach them Chinese. Others have offered tips on navigating the Chinese internet, warning the new users not to mention or discuss anything considered politically sensitive, as they may get censored. In some cases, Chinese students have asked the Americans for help with their English homework. So from what I'm getting from Rednote, it's a very welcoming community there in the Rednote app. They're welcoming, they're inviting, it's very easy to get into. I think the only thing they require besides your information is just like your phone number. And there are people that are always asking like, hey, how do you make an account? I'm not able to comment because I need to put in my phone number. And people have been very helpful for the most part. So I already mentioned before that there are laws in place where you have a domesticated service in mainland China, and there is an international version of that domesticated app for global use. But for some reason that doesn't apply to Rednote. I can't answer that. I'm not a law expert, so I can't really tell you how Rednote slips through the cracks. My only guess is that Rednote is an app for tourists, and tourists can download this app if they're ever curious on what places to visit and how to travel from one place to another in China. And I think Rednote is pretty cool for the fact that it serves as a bridge that connects both American users and Chinese users. We're exchanging, ideas and cultures and our ways of lives and everything. Like, hey, we're not bad people or anything like that, as the government portrays us to be. But I am a little bit worried about two things. And one thing I'm worried about is the influx of American users. I will say this. Americans is a very different demographic of people. We are very self-centered. We are very loud, and we're very opinionated on things. Americans are going to go into this app that, Rednote, it was very quiet, everything is chill. Now Americans are coming in, they're saying, wow, it's really nice, it's really quiet here, everyone's all friendly. And I guarantee it's going to take a few people fucking it up, and then they're just going to ruin it for everybody else. That's just me. That's just personally how I see it. As someone who's been on the internet maybe for as long as you have, I can definitely tell you that Americans are not that kind of people. We know how to ruin a good thing. Someone is going to find a way and just fuck it up for everybody else. And then that brings me to number 2. They did mention the whole thing with, hey, you have to be careful with what you say because you can get censored. Yes, so in China, they heavily regulate social media platforms there, and Rednote is no exception to that rule. So this is less about getting banned off of the social media, but it's more so that the government can actually see those things, and if you say something out of pocket, or if you say something that is politically insensitive to the Chinese government at least, they have the ability to censor that. Now, this is not an argument of saying America doesn't do anything far less than that. I'm not defending the American government. I'm not even going to engage in that discourse because I've seen many of y'all argue between, TikTok and the US government's concern on your data and how they handle your privacy and whatnot. I'm not engaging in that. It's a whole mess. Both the Chinese government and the American government are terrible in their own ways. That's about it. But at the same time, I do believe that y'all should have every right to use any platform that you want. But at the end of the day, it is your data. You choose how you want your data to be handled. You go to a social platform, you read the fine print, and you trust that service with your data. And whatever consequences come after, well, that is your situation to figure out. Like most apps and internet services in China, Xiaohongshu is subject to censorship. Platforms typically enforce censorship by deleting or shadow banning content that Beijing deems politically sensitive. Large Western platforms such as Google, Facebook are blocked in China. So again, as I mentioned before, censorship is definitely going to be a thing when it comes to Chinese social media apps. I don't know how Rednote slipped through the cracks. I already gave you my hypothesis on it. I think that Rednote is a very calm website. It seems very chill for the most part. I don't have Rednote, but I'm hearing from a lot of people that Rednote is a very chill community. They're very welcoming. They're very funny, as a matter of fact. They're not really so different from us. It's really cool there. And I'm like, all right, I mean, if it's cool there, it's cool there. But I'm really looking at Americans. I'm like, please don't fuck up a good thing. They were minding their business there. Y'all better mind your own fucking business, and y'all better play nice. I swear to God, if you fuck this up for the Chinese people, I'm gonna be so disappointed in us. An American user with the handle definitely not chippy made a video addressed to Chinese users of Xiaohongshu explaining why Americans are downloading the app. The reasons that our government is telling us that they're banning TikTok is because they're insisting that it's owned by you guys, the Chinese people, the government, whatever, she said. And then they're trying to make us think that you guys are bad. A lot of us are smarter than that, though. So we decided to piss off our government and download an actual Chinese app. We call that trolling, in short. We're here to spite our government and to learn about China and hang out with you guys. Now, I think there was something wrong when this person said that, oh, they're insisting that TikTok is owned by Chinese people or the Chinese government or whatever. There's nothing to insist. TikTok is owned by Chinese people. That's it. It's owned by a Chinese company located in Beijing. They're headquartered in Beijing, and the CCP has some sort of influence over these apps. That's not insisting. That is a literal fact. That's like insisting that Facebook is owned by Meta, which is owned by the American people or the American government or whatever. No, that's not insisting. That is a fact. Let's keep it a buck here. And it was funny when this person said that, oh, like they're trying to make us think like you guys are the bad guys. I don't think that was the purpose of the ban. The purpose of the ban wasn't really about saying, Chinese people are bad people. I'm surprised that's what you took from that. The criticism was mainly on the Chinese government and the way they handle data. That's really it. I don't understand how people took this ban and saw it as, oh, America thinks China is bad. No, they don't think China is bad. They're critiquing the government. That's really it. I don't understand why we're going to such extremes here. Now, again, it is pretty ironic that you have a bunch of people on TikTok migrating over to Rednote. The issue is that when you ban TikTok, you're disrupting a lot of businesses. There are a lot of people that rely on TikTok for their income. You have a lot of people that made a lot of connections through TikTok, and now those connections are destroyed. Those business relations are destroyed because you decided to ban an account because you only allow yourselves to spy on your own people in your own country, but you don't like it if another country spies on your people. It kind of makes sense that this protest would take effect because you have to understand that there are some entities out there that are waving like the US flags and like, yeah, let's go USA, ban TikTok. And they think that if you ban TikTok, that means Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, they're going to get a boost in popularity in some way, shape, or form. TikTokers aren't about that. They're heading over to Lemonade or Rednote if it means that the American companies don't win an extra account under their name. It makes perfect sense because they're trying to not give American companies more power over this ban that's taking place. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of TikTokers that are going to go to Rednote out of spite. They're going to go to Lemonade out of spite because they're trying to prove a point that we have control over our data. And if we trust the Chinese companies or the Chinese government to handle our data, then that's our choice to make. You don't make that choice for us because you banned one social platform. So I completely get it. I completely understand. Again, for me personally, my opinion on the whole Rednote thing, I think it's a great app. But do I think people are going to be in it for in long term? Generally speaking, as Americans, are we going to be in it long term? I don't think so. I personally feel it's only the flavor of the month. People are in it for a good time, not a long time. Maybe there's going to be a very, very, very small percentage of American users that are going to use Rednote and stay there long term. That's really all I have. I just wanted to touch on this because I've been seeing, Rednote trending for quite some time, and I'm hearing every TikTok refugee talking about Lemonade and or Rednote because they wouldn't want to go to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And other than that, that's really all I have for y'all. Peace.